This is the Oakwyn Podcast, featuring Morgan Brown and Michael Yu.
And welcome to the Oakwyn Podcast. I'm Morgan Brown.
I'm Michael Yu.
And I'm the Podfather.
And I have 3 cups in front of me.
You do have 3 cups in front of you. You got
water.
It's like you're playing. You know
water.
that game where you hide the
This.
ball. You know that game where you hide the
Like the street game
the
where you're
street game where
gambling.
you gamble and you hide the
Yeah.
ball. Have you ever
Yeah.
played that game
Yes,
before?
not really.
No?
Like, I mean, I think have we? I don't know. Maybe.
Probably.
Probably.
assume.
I have a probably
I used
situation.
to play that with my brother and stuff like
Oh,
that.
really?
Yeah.
You and Al?
Yeah, we had this. We had this magic starter set.
Oh,
Whoa.
Yeah,
Nice.
like a magic. Like
Magic the Gathering
Not
or
Magic
real
the
magic?
Gathering, like real
Magician.
magic magician starter set, and like there was like this wand that could like turn big and small.
Whoa.
And I actually bought a magic set for Arlene's son as well.
Aw.
Yeah.
Do you think that really stemmed your whole Magic the Gathering magic situation?
Well, I've always wanted to be a wizard.
Okay.
And on that note, if I wanted to turn on the ladies anymore, I don't know how I could have. But
So how has it been, guys? It's been a mid-year. I can't believe it's already mid-year.
yeah, it's we're midway through. Crazy to think, eh?
I know, it's crazy. It
It's-
still feels like spring.
But you know what it feels like? It feels like everything's gone back to normal.
Mm.
Like, so I think that's like a big one. Like,
Okay.
I mean,
What do you mean by that?
well, the masks are off.
Right.
Mhm.
Everyone's back together. We've had a lot of
People starting to
social
travel,
events
Yeah.
at Oakwyn.
Mhm.
People are traveling a lot more. And no one's really super scared as
Mhm.
you know, that
Yeah.
fear mongering kind of vibe is gone. Do you
Right.
guys agree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There doesn't seem to be any more trucker protests happening.
Yeah.
and,
Right. No loud honking and toothless people being like, don't stab
I did
me."
see one. I did see one this week. I was
Oh,
up
really?
in the Soyuz and I
Oh,
saw
really?
one.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's still going around.
Teach their own opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's been nice to see that people are back, and
Mhm.
I feel like also the climate has changed with interest rates going up.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that's been a big one. Our vacancy tax has really
Mhm.
hit a lot of people in the last little bit, which I've noticed in my clientele group because I'm downtown Vancouver.
Right.
So we've had a lot of people sell because of vacancy tax.
Mm.
And
Why do they sell because of vacancy tax?
because they can't come up here as much.
Oh, right.
So-
So it's a pied à terre.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
we've had a lot of people from Canada, from across the provinces, different provinces, Halifax, all the way kind of throughout, that are just like, we're just too far away and we can't come as much.
Yeah.
So they're like, what's the point of me paying all this triple tax
Right.
and getting dinged on it? So we've had to sell a lot of their properties. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's been kind of new.
Yeah, well, I think the market obviously has been adjusting and changing, and the market's always changed, and we've talked a little bit about the transitionary market, but I think it is normalizing. So we're talking about not only the society going back to normal with events and social stuff, but also the market is normalizing too, which is which I think is very much due.
It's due.
Yeah.
It's due.
Yeah. So we've just obviously.
You know what else has changed?
What?
Prices in grocery stores.
Yeah, totally.
I don't know
right?
about you guys, but I
Inflation?
was just in a grocery store the other day, and I don't do the shopping. I'm not a
Okay.
shopper. I don't
Yeah.
look at. I don't go. I actually hate going into a grocery shop
Yeah.
because I get really frazzled, and I'm like, what do I want to like? You can make anything you want. It's such a huge. I don't have the time to go into a grocery shop and like looking at everything and then be super creative and then put it together in my head.
Yeah.
Where a lot of people
So
do
you're a
that.
gut feel person.
I'm like, what do I need?
Because I'm like a grocery list guy. I'm like,
Yeah,
this is
me too.
exactly what I need.
Yes.
And I run in, run out.
See, that's what I need.
Yeah.
But Sean is like a feeling the vibe.
Yeah.
You know?
Priya's like that too.
I'm like, what are you
when
doing?
we go to the grocery store, Priya's just like, I think these would taste well together.
Yeah. I'm like, what is this?
They
Yeah.
say you spend more if you do it that way.
Yeah.
'cause
Oh,
you're
I
like,
think
oh,
so.
I, could
I
probably
think
have
so.
this too. Yeah. This too. Yes.
Yeah.
Hello, cookies.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, exactly. I'm like more of a. I go into a grocery shop and I literally don't get what I'm supposed to get, like
Oh,
at all.
really?
Like Sean will laugh so hard if he hears this because he's like, what did you get in there? Every time I go in there, I'm like, I just kind of got whatever I wanted. So I'll go in and get the most
The most
mix and match,
random
random
stuff.
stuff. And anyways, I'm not a good, but I noticed that I went and got some, my kids are like, it's berry season right now. So berries are, my kids are just downing all the berries.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's gone up, it's like $10 for a little thing of strawberries.
I know.
It's like $10? But
Right.
anyways,
Yeah.
that was my take on it.
I was
this
there
week.
yesterday in the grocery store, and the one thing that really stuck out to me, where it really hit, I didn't really even notice until I got to the. I was supposed to pick up some alphagetti, and it was like
Yeah.
$3 for a can of alphagetti, and I was
What?
like, now that doesn't seem right.
Yeah,
but-
it's like it was like 60 cents before.
yeah,
right?
exactly. Like
Yeah.
how? So I just got one, and I was maybe. I won't.
Yeah, things are our perspective of money is going to change obviously with the rise of inflation and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and people aren't like, I guess we're now starting to be hit in the side of the head with it, right? And then like
Gas prices
Gas
was
prices,
huge one. Yeah.
yeah,
My gas tank was $172 for a fill up
wow,
the other day. And we had to drive to a Soyuz. So there and back is
Mhm.
like just,
that's like a plane
Yeah.
ticket, right? And
Well-
then cost of flights are like
and
Gone up.
Except for the cost of flights to the Okanagan,
Yeah.
which you can get for like
$70.
$79.
Yeah,
right
it makes
now.
no sense.
Yeah.
And then also Ubers. Like people have been complaining about Ubers downtown. Like
Oh.
some people from work come downtown and they just Uber because it's always been cheaper. They don't really want to pay for parking. They just want to work all day.
right.
Yeah.
And so I noticed like in the last 2 weeks, people have just been complaining about Uber's prices going up. And
Oh.
all of them are Teslas now. Every one of our Ubers is a Tesla.
Mm.
Well, I
pretty
was just
much.
gonna say, is
Yeah.
that like an indirect result
This
of
is why I
gas
don't get
prices?
it.
But wouldn't be. I guess I mean, that's an indirect result of the Uber drivers having to buy Teslas to
That's
like
right.
Yeah.
counteract the gas
Yes.
prices.
Right.
That's crazy.
I don't think I've been in an Uber that hasn't been a Tesla.
Really?
Yeah, ever in Vancouver.
Hmm.
Because it just makes sense for Uber drivers.
It does.
Mm.
That's
yeah.
the point.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. There's like a prototypical Tesla guy.
Yeah.
Which kind of looks like me. Like wears a collared shirt, like pants that don't fit properly. Yeah. And like
What's the pseudo for a woman Tesla driver?
a woman Tesla driver is like, I
Kind of chickier.
yeah,
they're more
yeah,
chic.
they're more
Yeah.
kind of like more fashionable, I would say.
Yeah.
But then because whenever you charge your car, like I drive a Tesla, whenever you charge your car, sometimes you just wait there with other Tesla people and we talk about Tesla related like gossip.
They're like,
yeah.
I hope
Like,
Elon buys
yeah,
Twitter.
What do you think about
and
Elon
gets
buying
dressed
Twitter?
in
What do you
it."
think about those bots on Twitter?
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
like we just have like long conversations like, oh, it's been 45 minutes, gotta go.
Yeah.
And like you don't know their name.
Are you a
just-
car guy though?
No,
You're not a car
no,
guy.
not at all.
See, that's what I think. I think people that are not car people are not Tesla people. That's what I realized.
Ooh, those are fighting words because Tesla people are gonna be like, I'm a electric car guy.
Sure, they can be electric car guys, but they're not like overall car people. Like, they're not.
You're not standing
They're
around
not
the
standing around
charger
Charger.
talking about their like
Cars.
carburetors.
Oh.
and,
Yeah,
like,
that's what I mean. I mean,
No,
they're
well,
not
we talk-
talking about
yeah,
cars.
Not talk about like we don't talk about the combustion engine, which is pretty out of date now.
It's running out of
Yeah,
date
we
now.
talk about other, like high tech stuff. Like we talk about cloning. We talk about the latest technology and efficiencies.
If you were to actually have a dream car, what would your car be? Like, if you were like Earth and whatever, like, have you ever seen a car you're like, I wish I could drive that? I wish I had like the guts to drive that, or I wish I was like, whoa, that's a sexy car. You know what I mean?
I always
Yeah.
wanted to drive a truck.
Yeah.
Like I always wanted to drive like
Like what type of truck? Like a Ford Explorer truck?
like a truck where you have to like step up into like a monster truck looking thing.
Yeah.
Like this is like
because it's got a little step
I,
ladder to
yeah,
get.
clearly have like what is it, inadequacy issues or something. Like, male inadequacy. I wanted to just like step into like I'll climb a ladder to get into a truck and kind of like, I always
Have
watch.
you never driven a truck?
So I've driven your husband's
yeah,
truck.
yeah. That's not kind of a truck. It's
But
kind
not
of like
but
it's
I
like a
pretended
city
it was.
truck.
Like I used
Yeah.
to watch like well, we never went to one of these things, but they at BC Place they used to have these monster truck rallies.
Oh, it is
Yeah.
the best.
And then there would be these
The
commercials
best.
like Bigfoot is coming on
Okay, we're
July
going with
14th.
self.
Yeah, July 14th, Bigfoot's coming to the BC Place Stadium.
Sunday.
Sunday.
Yeah, I was always like, oh my god. I would beg my dad, can you take us to one Bigfoot's coming? He's not gonna come again. And my dad would be like, maybe. And I'd be like, it's July 13th. Come on.
Well, now I know what you're gonna get for your birthday.
I'm like,
What was your car? What's your dream car?
Yeah, a truck. I'd love a
Truck.
I'd love a taco.
What's all the dog?
I
I mean,
know.
the dads.
I mean,
The room.
you know,
Dogs.
this partly has to do with like my neighbors, and like I got two neighbors that I'm really good friends with that both own tacos, like Toyota Tacomas, and they're like, you know, talking about their. I'm like,
Ooh,
oh, you know,
taco,
it'd be
yes.
nice to like get a, you know, maybe I could get a bigger bowler trailer, and then I'm like, oh, well, I can't do that because I can't tow it with my car. And my neighbor's like, gotta get a taco, gotta get a truck, and I'm like, he's like, you should have a truck anyways. I'm like, okay.
You're like, I want a truck. You
Yeah,
need a truck.
I do need a truck. I
Oh
mean,
my
it'd be a
gosh.
nightmare for the city to like park and like do parallel parking and stuff. But like,
I hope they have electric trucks because they're
well, they have the
expensive.
Cybertruck coming out from Tesla.
I know I was gonna get
I
one.
don't-
Remember?
Yeah.
And then you were like, you will not fit that in your garage.
Well, that's the issue because I was looking like I was thinking about ordering one, and then the dimensions of the truck is so big it doesn't fit in like
Yeah.
Vancouver garages.
yeah. Well, I think to be honest with you guys, with how like you look at what Vancouver's trying to do, and they're trying to like basically
Yes,
outlaw combustion engines
combustion engines, yeah.
by like what is it, 2040 or something like that.
2042 or 45
Yeah.
or something like that, yeah.
So I'm guessing that there's going to be a lot of cities that do that, and every single car company is going to come out with an electric truck. Every single one of them. They're
Yeah.
going to have to,
Yeah,
right? Otherwise,
for
they
sure.
won't sell trucks anymore. So it's bound to happen.
It's so
and-
funny because I am
What's
in
your
an
dream car?
SUV now, and I love my SUV. It's the best, right? Like I've been like in whatever X5, and I dream I want a Porsche so bad, and a
Yeah.
Porsche Taycan, which is like a really long back. You can get it in electric. It's got four car. It's like 4 car. And actually, I was telling this to Manny Ball, so he'll be listening right now, and he's like, "Let's go test drive one for you." And I was like, really? Because he knows one of the Porsche guys or Ed Burnaby.
Did you do it?
So he's like, we gotta go. So he's setting
So
it
you're
up.
having a midlife crisis.
Yes.
That's why you want a Porsche.
No,
and,
no,
and
no.
You're gonna get like a
Okay, so I am a fast.
So Morgan's getting a toupee. She's gonna get a Porsche. And then she's
Porsches
gonna
are
get this
not-
hot
Porsches are cool.
21-year-old boyfriend.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh yeah, I've had this with you.
To be honest, that'd be my second choice. I would,
But you know
yeah,
what? Mike is
Porsche.
gonna get a mullet. He's gonna get a beer gut.
Yeah, oh,
He's gonna
yeah.
get a trashy gal.
Yeah.
I gotta- I'm
Daisy
gonna-
Dukes.
I gotta
Yeah.
get a Bigfoot. But I feel like
Sunday.
fast cars are my. I feel like I'm nervous to get into a fast car because I'm an F1 fan. But I'm like, I just want to. I've always wanted, or an old like SS like Porsche, like an old one that is just beautiful. But those are like my two favorite.
Well, you're into cars.
I love cars. I've actually really grown to love cars, but I think I love the brand. I love the story. It's always about the story, and it's about where it comes from, and like why they started their company, and what the
What
kind of
story
values
fascinates
are.
you the most?
Starbucks.
Okay.
Yeah, like I've always I thought that was always, I think finding a
Pivoting from cars to coffee.
Yeah, exactly. My two favorite things.
I thought
Howard,
your family was your
Howardy.
favorite thing, I guess.
I love my family. I can talk about my family all day, but
Yeah.
I try to keep it low.
My favorite thing is
low.
my family. Morgan's is cars and coffee, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Individuality, guys. No, I think that's my favorite story. If you guys have not read the Starbucks book,
Yep, pour
I
your heart into it.
highly recommend it. It's
I felt
very
like
good.
Pour Your Heart Into It and Onward, which
Onward.
is it's like the same book but written twice.
It is. It is just in two different. I feel like they just have two different ways that they wanted to split up business and story. That's what I kind of think it came. But it's very good, and obviously Lululemon.
Yeah.
Lululemon's a really Chip Wilson.
You know
He
what?
actually
I
has
have to
got-
brag about Lululemon right now.
Oh.
So I just like never had Lululemons, and so when we first started dating, I was like, hey, I'll like buy you a pair, because she was getting into more fitness stuff. So I bought her a pair. She's like, oh my God, these things are so comfortable. So I don't know if I should. So, but basically what happened is that the pants that I bought her when she first like got them, this was like 5-6 years ago, they started to wear down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you bring them back.
So Pri was just
5 years?
Yeah. 5 years. There's a
Yeah.
policy.
Pri was just talking to somebody at Lululemon as she was shopping. She's like, "Oh, we'll give you a free pair,"
Yeah.
and she was wearing the old ones that she had on.
So there's if you actually go on their website, there's an actual like policy. There's this one girl that like finds policies of different companies,
Yeah.
and I'm like on that list. But basically, the Lululemon one is if you are unhappy with any pair from any purchase, they will come and give you an equal set of pair.
Wow.
Like they don't care. They're just like,
Yeah, and I was like, she was just having a conversation with somebody about like, this is kind of starting to wear down, and then. Like very innocuous. We weren't like kind of mining for like,
yeah.
like, hey, like give me a free pair of pants. But just as like, oh, I love it. Yeah, my kind of pants are starting to like, and so I'm gonna get a new pair.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh no, don't buy it. Here's a new one for free.
Yeah.
Give me the old one, and we're gonna bring it back to the manufacturer. And I was like, man, no wonder these guys are so sick. And then
They're
now we're like
so smart.
so loyal. Like now I'm
Yeah.
just like, I want to buy more stuff from there.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean it's a very, very. They've had to shift their business big time. Like they've had to shift they went crazy in COVID, and then they hired tons of people, and then now it's starting to kind of moderately. People are now shopping more like work-related clothes now, and
Yeah,
they're
pivoting.
shifting. They're
Yeah.
pivoting.
They're going into a lot of running now. Yeah.
They are going into more running,
Yeah.
and if you actually read his sticky black pants? What's it called?
Little black
Little
pants.
black pants.
Tiny black pants.
Tiny black pants.
Tight black pants. Yeah. Something like that.
Something like that. Look at it. It's actually very good. It's a very good book. I read that really quick actually. And it was he talks about how he was actually mostly in menswear.
Oh yeah.
And his whole original thought process was I'm going to make them a best active way for men. And then it evolved into
Yeah, I
women.
think he was West
yeah.
Beach, so he
Yeah,
was like
West Beach,
surfer.
yeah.
West Beach, so he was like in surf gear, so he kind of had a high back shorts so that you don't get a plumber's butt.
Yeah.
When you're swimming and stuff like that, when you're surfing.
But that's all Sean wears is like Lululemon.
Oh yeah.
He only wears Lululemon, like the pants, the underwear. I'm telling you everything. But he wears like the shirt. It's all because it's so good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's been very good. It's been very active. Things have been changing with this mid-year reflection all over the world, I think.
What's changed with you from the first 6 months of the year?
I think we've been very, very busy growing Oakwyn and also really pivoting from us being at the kind of the beck and call of what the government has been letting us do. So really adjusting and evolving our company as much as we can. So I've been focusing on just growing and changing. And COVID has kind of slowed me down, which is great. And yeah, just spending some time with my family and spending lots of time with my clients and my friends. And I think I really realized in the last little bit how important my relationships and purpose and work is. Those are the two things that I have changed in my life.
I've noticed that change actually, because you're a lot nicer to me than you were like 3 to 6 months ago. Yeah, you were a lot nicer to me.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
In
Even
what way?
your tone even.
What?
Yeah, like when you used to call me, you're like, hey, blah, 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 blah. Hey, I gotta go. Now you're like,
Who am I?
Yeah,
Am I this like bag? Like I sound like. I'm wearing a
and then now
toupee.
yeah, now I like the midlife crisis, Morgan.
Yeah.
So like, and now you're like, hey, how you doing? Like, oh, you on a walk? Oh, cool. And we like chat about that. we're like
nice.
FaceTiming on a chat with our kids and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's like it's really nice to see for sure.
What has changed with you?
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. Well, like I think,
Soph is almost a year like Lenny.
yeah.
So that's a big change.
that's
When you
been
get
like
closer
that's
to
been a
that
big thing
age.
because it was such a huge adjustment period from a family perspective because I'm so deeply kind of like rooted in family stuff. So like it was a big change having Soph and the responsibilities, and I really like made it my priority to be a really, really good dad and trying to find the balance between being a great dad, being a great husband, being a friend, being a in business, and all kind of mixed my roles together. So I just trying to find the right balance and
What did
find
you
the right
learn
mix.
from that?
I learned that I tend to like neglect things if I don't like. I'm either full on this, and then I neglect other things, and so I can't neglect things, because when I neglect things, it does really sour the relationships within that realm, or and I detach from things, for example, because I'm just like, oh, well, like I'm in dad mode right now, and I use that as kind of like an excuse to like behave poorly in other areas of my life, which is completely unfair and not good for because I have people that are in each of those areas, and so like you kind of desert them, and then you like and then you kind of come back, and so it's now trying to strike the like appropriate mix, and and trying to understand it, understand that it's that whole book. What is that book? Oh yeah, what is that? Good to Great. They talk about it's not either or, but it's an and. So it's so like I don't have to just be like a great dad and I just screw over my business right now. Like I can be like a great dad and a great business person and a great friend, and so it's and, not or. So like and I'm like so that was a big lesson for me, and so I'm trying to bring back some of the items where I've probably neglected. I neglected a lot of my friendships, to be open with you, and so I'm reaching out to people. We're connecting again, going for lunch and stuff like that, and so it's been great.
That's good, Mike. What about you?
Me? Changes? Well, I would say like my business has just been like a whirlwind, like in the last year and a half since I went like fully into the business. It just seems like it's constantly changing and evolving, and I'm starting to realize now that there's cycles there. I have like revenue cycles, and like it often dips down in the summer because people are like, I'm gonna put my podcast on hold and like
enjoy it.
and enjoy the summer, which is totally reasonable, right? And so I've this year, like realizing that this is going to happen every year, it's kind of made me think like I have to find ways to build kind of a buffer zone, like a floor up of like passive income to find, to just to like not have those cycles kind of hit me as hard. And so it's been really interesting the past like couple months trying to figure out how I can do that. And yeah, that's kind of what I'm working on right now. So
I could give you a tip on that.
What's your
okay,
tip?
what's your tip?
My tip is that you're like the time management. So you should look at your podcasts, and you should basically direct when they're doing their podcast, as opposed to them directing you. So
Right.
say that you have like 52 weeks, and you're saying, okay, there's 52 weeks. You're gonna do 4 pods every month, so that so you can kind of project the amount of income coming in, and then also project the timing. So for instance, if we're taking off 2 months of the summer, you're like, okay, we're going to book you in for 4 more sessions during this time, so that it makes up for those 2 lost times. And then you're directing what's coming in as opposed to coming out.
Or I'd go like, that's a great idea. And just speaking of that, I don't know what I like. Brandon's is
No,
Brandon's
but
like, fuck, oh my God.
I would sign longer contracts.
Yeah.
I would sign like longer contracts and have it like, because like, so if you're listening to this podcast because you're thinking about starting a podcast with Brandon,
Call the Podfather.
call the Podfather, because I'll tell you something. It has instrumentally changed our business. Having the podcast, having Braden, it has been like such a big culture builder and such a big booster for revenues as well. Like,
yes.
And so like
There's our testimonial right there.
Yeah, it's a
Brandon.
testimonial.
Amazing. It's going on my website.
And so like I think, and it's a commitment of time. Like, how many listeners did we have when we first started? Like none. And then like here 100 and whatever 20 in, we have like a pretty good following
Yes.
of listeners now. And like, but it took time. And so, in our last podcast we talked about Kevin patience, and it pays off.
Yeah.
Now
It's true.
we're starting to eat the fruit of that paying
Now.
off. So like.
Totally.
If I'm doing a podcast, I don't take a break for the summer. That's stupid.
Yeah. So
Like,
I would. It's like
you know what I mean?
projecting.
Right?
It's
that
like
doesn't make sense because
projecting
you're
it.
building up a following, and then like,
Well, it depends on how important that what that fruit is that's coming from the podcast.
Yeah.
Depends on how important that is to you. And I think there's it's not as important to some people as it is to you guys. And so
yeah,
for
that's
some
true.
people, just that having that time in the summer is more important than, you know, focusing on getting an episode out every week. And I can understand that, and I can
But I
respect
think that showing the results of what it does, doing it regularly and consistently,
Yeah, because everyone
is really calculated. It's
Yeah.
you need to show that to them. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
I do. I should. Yeah, you're right.
really
I
get
should-
it in the numbers and be like, if you don't do this, it will go down. If you do this, it's gonna go up.
Yeah, yeah. It's basic
It's
math.
basic amaze.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's it. But I mean, that's so cool. I think we're very lucky to have you. We're so
Yeah.
like
Oh, thanks,
honestly,
guys.
Yeah, the
Braden
pod
is
wouldn't-
the best.
The pod wouldn't be the same without Braden, right?
I know Braden's the best.
Yeah, it would be very much the same if you weren't here.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think
Me,
so.
Braden, and someone. No, I'm just
Whoa.
joking.
Yeah.
Hey, hey.
Hey, listen. Everyone knows who the star is.
Yeah.
I'm just joking.
Yeah, we do. It'd be the same without me.
The ones. Oh my god! I'm actually reading right now about. This is so random. I don't
Okay.
even know why I'm bringing this up because
Okay, your Playboys, go on.
like complexes. So I'm really
Oh.
really into the psychosis of like people that have like supreme complexes, like people
Okay.
that have these. I should. This is so ridiculous. Just when people like kind of, I've noticed that when I'm telling this to my dad yesterday that I really have lately just been reading people and kind of seeing where people kind of how people react to other things. And before I used to be like, oh yeah, you know, whatever, but now like how maybe they'll put down someone or they'll make someone shine, like basically one or the other, like what you just did to me.
I didn't know that was a joke.
I just checked.
He put you down
Just
and
like-
made you
I
shine
said
in the
you
same
did.
sentence.
Yeah, I know. He did both of them at the same time. But yeah, no. What I've realized is there's a supreme complex, and there's a lot of you know. Anyways, this is something I'm just.
So is this what you're noticing in others or in yourself?
No, I'm noticing in
both?
others. No, I think I'm in a really good place right now in myself. I think that, but I also think that it's great to learn about, you know, Ray Dalio. He talks about this on the podcast for Dak Shepard. What's it called? The
Armchair
Armchair
Expert?
Expert. Yeah. Actually, if you haven't listened to that podcast, listen to that after this one. It's the Ray Dalio one for Dak Shepard, and he talks a little bit about. Yeah, just about complexes and
that's
how
interesting.
you're, you know, where you put your kids, where advantages are given to people in specific places, and that kind of opened up a whole new way for me because it does mention just about like, you know, being around different people and how that really enhances you.
Okay.
It shouldn't, you know, you shouldn't deflate you. You shouldn't only be around the same group of people all
Yeah.
the time. You're not going to always be around realtors doing the same thing all the single time. You might want to be with, you know, an artist, or you might want to be with a lawyer, and you might want to have friends that are, you know,
Diversity.
activists, right,
Right.
across the world, you know. And I think if you do that, it really opens your minds up. It expands it. So lately I've just been kind of like looking at things in a different way, and I've got I'm kind of excited about it. I've been reading about superiority complexes.
Hmm.
And people are really there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
I didn't
Really?
realize that.
Definitely.
They almost shame people for like that's what it is.
Do you think
It's
that
like they
comes from a
shame
source
you.
of insecurity
That's what
within
they say.
themselves?
That's what they say.
Yeah. Like,
And it's like self-assurance, and the more they do it, the more they feel like they're more important, which is like kind of sad.
Yeah.
Don't you
It's kind of
think?
like buying a big truck to make up for
Or
your-
a Porsche, I know, right? But yeah, I've noticed that a little bit with people in general. Like when people are like, "You're wrong," like that's, or like my thing is more important. It doesn't help the person. It actually puts them in a kind of more of an inferior place.
I have no way of segmenting off of that, so I'm just gonna do it. Okay, guys. So, so up next, we're gonna talk about, you know, we are transitioning, and we're hoping if you have a superiority complex, you transition.
Sorry, guys. Those are my weird thoughts in my mind.
Transition into having a different kind of complex. So we're, you know, obviously, how do you price a home?
This is a huge one, guys.
Yeah.
Huge one
Yeah,
for
how
us.
do you price a home in a changing market? Up next.
Thanks for listening to the Oakwyn podcast. If you have liked our podcast, please rate us 5 out of 5.
Yes.
Why are you looking at me like that? He looked like he was gonna tell me like I was doing it wrong.
no.
I was like,
I don't have a superiority complex over you.
But if
doing
you
it well.
also would like to reach out to one of our Oakwyn leaders
Yes.
to hear a little bit about Oakwyn, feel free to go to oakwyn.com/join and put in that message box, Evolve 2022, mark the office of choice, and we'd be happy to reach out to you with one of our incredible leaders.
Yeah,
at
and you'll
Oakwyn.
get a free piece of mystery swag.
Thanks so much,
Okay, thanks,
guys.
guys.
Welcome back, guys. Thanks so much for joining us. We are talking about pricing a listing in a falling market. This
Yes.
is one of our most asked questions,
Yeah.
especially on our Slack channels.
Yeah, because people are confused right now. Some of the agents are like, I'm going to a listing presentation.
How do I price this?
How do I price this home? What do I do?
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest things that we would like to mention is information is your best friend.
Yes. So knowledge is power, as they say, the old cliche. And, a lot of people are going to listing presentations not as confident. And so, how do we gain that confidence? Is through having all the knowledge and the data and the information at our fingertips, at our hands. So preparation is going to be key.
Yes, 100%. So I would say the first thing that comes to mind when you talk about information is in the last little bit, people would come into listing presentations and you wouldn't even have to bring in anything other than a couple comparables of choice around.
Yes, yeah.
Now things are changing. The number one thing is our HPI trend.
Yeah.
Mike, what is that?
So home pricing index is the average home price in a certain sub area and the trends of the change in prices on an average over month to month changes. So like basically you can see the average 2-bedroom or the average condo in downtown going from a certain number to 3% less within a month, for example.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my gosh, this is the trend of the average price of the market. So that's something that's good to have with you as you. So you want to look at like maybe even print a few different graphs, and these are line graphs.
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe trends short term within a year or 2 years, and then maybe a 10-year trend, so that like they can have the perspective over 10 years. Yeah.
Oh, I love that actually.
Yeah. So both.
There is also the sales to active ratio, which is I think one of
What's
our
that,
number
Morgan?
one best friend.
Yeah, totally.
So what is selling and what is still active on our market? So what the best resource that you guys can use is to go onto Stat Center,
Yep.
and that we are so lucky to have, to be honest. Those are just fantastic. And they'll share with you what the upwards downward trend is for the sales to active ratio. What that is that what properties are selling. Are they selling fast? What's the days on market? And are they selling at percentage wise of what it's actively listed for?
Yeah,
right?
so sales to active ratios are updated monthly. So the amount of new listings that are coming up every month, the amount of sales that are happening, and the ratio of those differences. So that actually helps to set expectations a little bit with your client.
Yes.
Saying that, okay, 1 out of 10 homes are selling every month that's available right now. So then it's like, oh, okay, well maybe I'm not gonna sell in the first week or two.
Yeah.
So which is kind of happening nowadays. So like. Setting the correct, and we're going to get into this later, but setting the right expectations for your client is going to be key. And a lot of the times, before we go into a listing presentation, we have some fear that we're going to deliver bad news, right? Like for example, they thought their home was worth.
Or you feel like you're gonna just like not know what the price is really gut wise, and
Yeah.
you're like, am I just shooting in the dark right now? Because am I going to be able to really get that? Because if you're going up against competition, which I've been doing in the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks,
Same.
I'm like, what are they pricing it at, right? What are these people that are coming in after me or before me pricing it at? And am I shooting into the dark, right? Because you don't want to buy the listing. As everyone knows,
Right.
the biggest thing is to give
What
really
is
good
buying a
information.
listing?
Buying a listing is basically pricing it at the seller's expectation just to get the listing with you, as opposed to you sharing what fair market value is of the property, what you think it will sell for, and just your projections on your professional advice. So those are the key things. Leaning into the second thing that's super important to pricing a listing in a falling market or in a market that is changing is our CMA, which is our comparative market analysis. And what that is basically comparable properties that are in all the 3 different categories: in the active, the current sold properties, and the expired and terminated. What that does is it just gives you an equation for the list price that you would recommend to the client. And then from there, you can kind of adjust it based on any renovations, any, advantages the property holds.
Specifically right now, just because of all the rate hike changes and stuff like that, it's sold prices are less to me right now. This is just my own personal opinion, not the opinion of Oakwyn Realty and its subsidiaries. But
a disclaimer there.
Because sold prices can be a bit deceiving when we look at kind of general market trends, like especially just coming right off of a very hot market with lower interest rates right away. So sold prices are a little bit deceiving, because if something was sold in, let's say, March or April,
January,
or February, January, where if you look at a 6-month window, you'd be like, oh my gosh, like it's completely different now.
So different
here in in the summertime. So like looking at the recent sales, someone is like, oh, 3 months ago this thing sold for this, and I'm like, yeah, it's really different now. You really want to pay attention to the active listings in the area and what's happening in their days on market, and you may want to call those agents, find out about the activity.
Very good point.
So what I do a lot of the times is any active listing that's competing, I do a friendly call to the agent. I ask them what their activity has been like. Have they had offers? Have they had showings? What's the activity like on their property? And you don't want to, like, so some agents are being really deceptive and being like, I might have a buyer for your place, like, and but they're doing a listing presentation. Just be really upfront, guys, and tell them I have something that might come up. We're not sure yet, and I just wanted to get a sense of the market from you. Just be honest. Don't lie and say that you might have a buyer for their property or anything like that, because I've had some agents do that to me with my listings, and they're like, oh yeah, I might have someone interested. Can you tell me how interested? And I was like. And then after the few minutes of the conversation, I'm like, do you have a listing coming up? And they're like, yes. I'm like, why did you just lie to me for the last 5 minutes? Just tell me and I can tell you everything. Like, I'm fine. And so, like, anyways, pet peeve.
I will say you're completely right. So the first thing, of course, we mentioned is information. But the second thing is do your research. I mean, you're going to not only speak to the agents that are currently have the active, but you're also going to be talking to and also thinking about what the buyers need. So in that
put
category,
yourself in the buyer's shoes, right? Yeah.
So what would these guys pay for a house at this price point? Put yourself in their shoes and what they're seeing on that in that category.
Yeah.
Right?
So this is something that's really a great exercise to do, and Morgan makes an awesome point. So when let's say, for example, you're going to a listing presentation. Think about you as the buyer's agent. What would you offer on this property if it was available on the market at a certain price? And why? What would be your reasoning for it? So kind of flip the role and explain that to your client. Just say, I'm on your side 100%, but this is what a buyer's agent is going to talk about, or this is what a buyer is going to look at. I know a lot of sellers are emotionally attached to the color of their rug and everything, and it makes it more valuable, but a buyer's not going to be that much so really looking at it from that buyer's perspective.
Lens.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And really the last thing is just taking the emotions out of the sale, like looking at the data, looking at what what people are wanting to purchase in this market is super key when pricing a property. I think Mike's completely right. There's a little bit of a slow and change in the condition of how buyers are thinking. They're a little bit more wise to react to a new listing that comes out. They're not we have noticed that a lot of people are not just holding off offers until a specific time, unless they've priced it really sharp to build up that price, which I'm still seeing in the detached housing market. But in the condo market and all the different realms, people are doing offers as they come. We are seeing a change in our Greater Vancouver area it was like, I think it was 15 days prior. It's doubled already in the last month, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And it's gone to 14%, which is insane. But which is a very incredible amount of change. I've had a lot of listing presentations recently. I've had about 6 actually. And I didn't get all of them. No, just joking. I got them all. No, I no. I actually got what I've realized is people are they're making more wise choices and looking at the long-term plan as opposed to the short-term plan, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
As sellers. So they might say, okay, vacancy tax might hurt me, but maybe I should just rent it out. And let's talk to Morgan to see what the price is of this price and think about it long term on if it will go back up or it will change or whatever it is. So I've almost been a little bit more of an advisor about my own opinion of what the market, where the market is. And you have to be really careful about that because, you know, of course we don't have crystal balls.
Right.
What I highly recommend is using data, looking at the trends. Hey guys, look at the history of what has happened as well. Like go back.
Yeah, history repeats itself.
Yeah, go back and see what has happened in some of those dips in 08 and 2011. Yeah.
Right.
2011.
Yeah.
2011. Yeah.
You know, and in
Or
a
2018.
in a more normal market, sellers are going to be pickier with their listing agents.
Yeah.
In my opinion, you know, they're going to interview more, and I think if it's everywhere on Realtor.ca and every you know, you Google list my home, and one of the things is interview agents. And so I think there's lots of opportunities for really great agents that present themselves really well, that have the data and have the knowledge to be able to stand out and really be able to win market share. You know, back in 2008, Morgan and I both won market share because we had a different attitude and you know, like really prepared for our listing presentations and stuff like that. And I think it's an opportunity for all of us to do that same thing.
Yeah, there's a lot more. What you're going to be seeing out there right now are different strategies as opposed to just pricing it and getting it on the market. You're going to see people putting commission structures in place where you're giving bonuses to the
You gotta
agents.
be more creative.
You have to be more creative.
Yeah,
There's
you can't cut corners.
You can't cut corners. People are going to be seeing staging happening. So build those relationships with those vendors right now, guys. It's super important to reach out to them and just really educate yourself as much as you can during these times that are a little bit slower and think outside the box on how you can create new opportunities for you and your clients.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, there's always still going to be emotion whenever you buy or sell a property. I think emotion is still a big part of it. But I think in a falling market, in a changing market, you know, buyers don't have that fear of missing out on a property because they're like, oh, I'll just wait for the next one to come in.
Right.
So like there has to be more compelling reasons for them to make a decision to buy your property. So like thinking outside of the box, putting yourself in their shoes, what's going to be the thing that brings them over the edge to write the offer, so on and so forth, is something that's key and important to know. And, you know, sellers as well are going to, you know, be emotional too, because they're like, oh, you know, I could, if I sold like 6 months ago,
I know.
I could have like made X number of dollars more. And they think of that as a loss. So putting things into that 10-year perspective of when they bought the property and putting it into the correct perspective might change their attitude towards the, you know, the emotional side of selling. You know.
Yes, for sure. There's always opportunity for your clients out there in the market. But that's really the big tips, guys. Inform, research, and just make sure that you set those expectations really clearly for the clients.
Some things about, you know, just some things that I'm doing on a, you know, anecdotal thing. You know, so in a downward trending market, I always price properties below recent sales, obviously, and in above trending trending markets moving upwards, I do it over, obviously. So really look at some of those prices and try to go under there. Now more than ever, it's more important. If I work with a lot of buyers and sellers that are transitioning from one property to the next. You know, 6 months ago, I was telling them buy first, then sell after.
Yeah,
and now
you were
like
saying that.
99.9999% of people, you have to sell first.
Yes.
So like, you know, there's people that advise their clients to buy first and then sell for. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
Yeah, what I've noticed also, this is very interesting, is I'm seeing a lot of subject to sales happening actually, which I haven't seen in the last 2 years. What that is, everybody is basically working with a buyer, finding a property that has been on the market and getting an accepted offer based off of a condition for the sole benefit of the buyer to sell their property prior to removing subjects and having a full sold
subject
property.
sale is
Yeah.
so that's probably going to come back. I got a beef. Can I share my beef?
Yeah, go. We like
Let's
this.
hear it.
Okay, we might have to edit this out. But there are some companies out there,
Okay.
that do some funny financing stuff with
Funny financing.
financing, not funny financing. They do financing for sellers that want to buy before they sell.
Okay.
And I'm learning more about these companies, and then if it doesn't sell, then if they buy a property and their home doesn't sell, then they buy the property from the homeowner.
Oh my gosh.
Huh.
And it's for me, it just sounds so predatory.
Like they buy it at a big loss to the.
Well, I don't want to say it because I don't know all the details. But they help to finance the bridge, the purchase, and then they have a guaranteed sale at a certain amount. And I feel like
That's very
that is
fishy.
like
Yeah.
Who does that?
don't want to say who, but there are companies out there that do that, and I feel like it is so predatory because people want that security of finding a place. And
You know who used to do that? Zillow, and then they stopped.
Yeah, they were getting.
Just saying, they got worked.
Well, I heard. Yeah, they were paying way too much. They weren't doing their research.
They weren't doing
and
their
they were
research, and I
overpaying.
know the Zillow crew very, very well. I've sat down with them a lot this year, and they were like, we tried it, we tried it, and
Yeah.
we're happy we did it,
Yeah.
and now we're moving on.
Yeah, I'm all for experimentation. I'm
Yeah.
all for innovation. I am not for predatory behavior on the public, and it just feels that way to me, and so that's my beef. I don't know if it's the truth. I don't know the whole story, but I'm researching it. I'm like, this seems wrong.
That is wrong.
Yeah, seems wrong, but I don't know.
Well, that is it, guys. Thank you for
On that cheery and wonderful note,
price your properties right. Get your clients out there to understand the market a little bit better. Again, we are not just advisors, we are educators, and we believe that really at Oakwyn as well. So if you'd like to reach out to one of our incredible
yeah, if you want to learn more about
Oakwyn agents.
maybe learn more about what our company's about, feel free to reach out to us at oakwyn.com/join.
Yes.
Type in the message box, Evolve 2022, and you'll receive a free piece of
Mystery swag. Thanks so much,
thanks, guys. Till
guys.
next time. Bye.